short self-introduction, but now
Yeah.
we put down your slides.
Just
Yeah.
remove one slide.
Okay. Which one? You want to delete it? Well, we're not saving it.
Is already making adjustments?
Yeah.
That's good.
Last minute update. Okay. Done.
Sorry. Well, good evening. I'm Stefano. I'm from NTU and from our startup company Energy Smart Solutions. My background is on heavy-duty gas turbine and combined cycle. I don't know how many of you are on energy. How many of you? Okay, so I have to try to be a bit more simple. Then I've been research fellow in Rome for 2 years, and then I moved to Singapore, in which I switched from big power plants to smart grid, district cooling, and this highly integrated system for distributed generation. That is the trend from the conventional power plants to the prosumer approach, in which I produce and I use, and in case I can also sell back to the grid. So,
Are you starting now?
yeah.
Or you want, yeah? Okay. Okay, so 5 minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of you know that we have a tough challenge to accomplish, that is the reduction of CO2. So I'm taking these slides that is coming from my PhD defense because it really meaning that it's dirty, we have to work, and it is a tough activity. But now, in respect of when I was kid, academically speaking, I think that toughness brings also great opportunities. So in this scenario, we have many chances for integrating different areas in which energy efficiency, adoption of renewable technologies, the fuel diversification, and new technologies such as artificial intelligence and IT can help in answering the end user demand for have eco-industrial park. Now we are talking all around in this industry 4.0 on smart cities and mobility and green port and shipping. So the idea is that our startup can deal with different scenarios of energy utilities, customer, prosumer, and retailers. Well, first of all, we have to understand which are the end user needs. So we have to be clean because it's a trend, or because we believe in clean, or because it's economy that brings us to be clean. On reduction of capital expenditure, operational expenditure, and of course resilience. Because in the energy sector, you want to be reliable. The cost of availability is one of the most important costs for someone that is managing a plant. So the process for accomplish all these tasks is tough because you have to have a design phase in which you integrate the building, the city, or the industrial park to the generation part in which you have engine, PV, batteries, thermal storage. What typically happens is that you have to select manually configuration, you try the calculation of design, you check if it is a minimum, and then iteratively you do again. The aim of our tool is to have advanced mathematical algorithm coupled with artificial intelligence for accomplish together both the tasks. Actually, we are working in National Research Foundation 20 million funded project in NTU, in which we substantially are achieving a software able to do master planning and design. So it's mainly addressed to greenfield projects and optimal operations that can be partially brownfield project and then unique commitment and optimal dispatch. Then artificial intelligence takes place when we would like to have virtual control and monitoring because it is allows to reduce the maintenance cost. And it is very important for retailers such Shell and so on. Well, overall speaking, we can achieve more than 40% saving adopting a smart solution because we are summing all the contributions from the CO2 reduction on the capital cost and the operational cost. Our solution is mainly addressed to be user-friendly, online and offline, and easy to customize. Easy to customize is important because our solution comes with database of components. But maybe the end user that is already in the energy sector has database that we don't have. So the idea is that he can manually add the specifications because the system is based on maps of components. So you can not have the knowledge of what's inside, you just have to have the data of what you want to put in our system. And of course, we have to be fast, but robust especially. Well, let's say that the integration to the technology, to the user needs, bring to have master planning, operations, and economic analysis. Because the software,
1 minute.
thank you. The software allows you to have different scenarios that are compared, and you can make the best choice on respect of the optimization objective function that you define. That can be cost, that can be fuel, that can be CO2, and so on. We provide, I just keep very fast this one for the short of time, a solution for a drone port here in Singapore, and we achieve 1.2 million of NPV in 10 years, bringing to 10% of primary energy saving and CO2 reduction. But the challenge can be much bigger, and the saving can be much bigger when we're dealing with highly integrated system where complexity increases a lot. Because in this case, the smart solution have really an added value. You cannot do manually, you need a software to do that. So our company is made by Alessandro and myself. We are looking for one researcher, 2 computer scientists, and 1 IT guy. And the business model is based on revenue stream that can be one-off fee, subscription, and licensing. And the cost we have is the manpower for sure, the rental of equipment and so on, and the IT part of hosting the server and so on.
Okay, and time is up.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Thank you very much. I'm actually surprised you managed to squeeze it in 5 minutes because it was another presentation. It's a very complicated product. So the floor is open for feedback or Q&A. Who wants? Yeah.
Is it a working, you have a working model, obviously you've done the port already.
Sorry, didn't get it.
It's a working software.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you using machine learning?
For the master planning and for the optimal dispatch or unit commitment, no. For the maintenance scheduling, yes. So it depends on the package that the user would like to have.
I see.
Because if you are like, let's say, capital lens, urbana Jurong, a master planner, you may be not interested in the virtual and control monitoring because you just want to build the power plant that can feed your buildings. So you just want to size the system. And then the maintenance is on the manufacturer. But if you have already installed components, maybe you want to use our solution to extend maybe the maintenance from now to 10 years and understand how to do it optimally. I've done that on Siemens machines, and I cannot say which power plant is it, but we monitor the hot temperature of the turbine blades. And this measure gives somehow the lifetime residual of the plant. So monitoring this temperature and having embedded the artificial intelligence, you can operate the machines, maybe reducing a bit the efficiency, but make longer the life. So you don't have the maintenance to do maybe every 2 years, but every 3. So at the end of the day, it's easier to operate the machine a bit lower efficiency, but don't have the maintenance.
I see. So you're doing predictive failure?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
What is the one-off fee and the subscription fee, roughly? Because I know there's going to be high variability, so maybe what's a range? And the second is, who is going in and selling this concept to each individual potential business?
Okay. The first question is about giving a value of the fees.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how to answer.
No. So,
I mean,
yeah.
most probably it depends on the size of the power plant that you have to install. Maybe it can be based on a percentage of the capital expenditure of the power plant. And for the licensing, probably there is a subscription fee that is constant, and then we can also think of having a sharing of the revenues.
So you're still figuring out your monetization model?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second one is, who's going in and selling these particular either subscriptions or one-off fees?
We don't have the figure right now.
No, who is selling? The person.
Which person
Who
is going
is
to do it?
approaching the partners, clients?
At the moment, ourselves, but this is my reply before that. We don't have this figure right now. I mean, we think that maybe someone that is more in the business is much better than us in selling it.
So the co-founder, the moment we are leveraging on the way on NTU, because we talk to other companies. We leverage on NTU because we're talking to a lot of companies which show some interest in the concept. But then eventually we have to have someone that goes and approaches some of these big companies to create some sort of business for us, because otherwise it would be too much for us to handle. So that is where at the moment we're a bit short of manpower. For the one-off fee would be, well, the one-off fee would be very much like a standard consulting firm. You know, that you pay for the man hours and definitely some of the modification that we have to do for your sort of specific case, but anyway, it will be very standard. Anyway. But they haven't figured out how much. Yeah.
One more question. Who are your competitors?
Really?
Business.
Let's say that it is because of our nature of being researcher. Of course, we had a wide state-of-the-art analysis, and we are not unique, of course. But what we are trying to do, and in this short time, is also because the auditor is not so much in details on energy sector, is that if you compare different tools, maybe there are some small gap. An idea of this software is in somehow to fill this gap and give you a solution that covers broadly all the possibilities for some kind of power system or energy sectors. I mean, there are some software that are more on the integration of the building, but maybe on the generation part, they are working with just black model that are based on some characteristics that they have from the manufacturer, but they don't have maybe the features on how to simulate all the details of the components. So maybe I don't know if I'm wrong, but somehow maybe the failure analysis in this case is not so easy. On the other hand, there is another software that does pretty similarly what we do, but they don't have database of components. They do efficiency optimization based on giving you an energy value, let's say. But the point is that this software, we can also say this one, Homer, is commercial one, give you results that say the engine you have to buy is 1777 kilowatt, but on the market it's not available. In the market you have 1750, 1.8 thousand. So after that you have to run again the evaluation because it's not the engine that the optimizer has selected. So somehow in this way we are trying to cover the gap.
So one of the comments also, like to give the feedback on the presentation, coming back to the point which Rafael mentioned before, when you start your presentation you can give some kind of association. This is Airbnb for events or something like that, just to make it easier for people to understand what you are talking about. And the second thing is about competitors. Sometimes what I saw is that companies include the comparison table, name of the projects, what they have, and
I'm
what
very
you
fast.
have. Exactly, yeah.
Okay, back.
So this is what helps you to answer that specific question. It's very useful as well. More questions?
Shoko and then I'll. Yeah.
So this is not monitoring tool, but can you regulate the energy consumption?
Yes.
I have seen in Singapore that some building companies already doing it themselves as a part of the spin-off, or I have seen some startup, they focused on the hotel segment of efficient energy use. And what they told me that for the building sector, all the smart solution has been, there was a boom a couple of years ago, so all the smart solutions have been implemented. So the guy actually sold the business because he thinks the best time is over. And then also the startup is still going and then they're growing well, but they said because of this specific focus that made in a hotel segment, that made their job easier. And yours, it sounds very general, so and then from the presentation, we couldn't really tell what's a specific angle that's very, very useful. Because as you said, probably there have been many solutions to regulate energy in an efficient manner. So.
Yeah, and I totally got the point and thank you so much. Let's say that, okay, this is something that maybe would be the pitch with the investors. What we have in the structure of the software is that we have, for instance, let's say libraries in which we have the regulation of the country, the price of electricity in the country, the data of the weather, sun, wind. So the software can be easily set up in other countries. So you just press a Google map pointer, you put there, and we have the database of what is there. So the solution is very easy to adapt to different countries, and I didn't see so much, honestly, on this area. And the other part is that I agree with you that there are many software that does for the hotel, but they're not doing the master planning part. The master planning is not done in that way. Usually they give a configuration, they optimize the sizes, but the software itself is not saying if buying 4 chillers or 2 plus a thermal storage, because this usually is manually input in the software. But if you are looking to someone that is not in the field, the idea is that you can cut consulting cost, because the engineering anyway remains, because you have to go to the vendors and say, I want this engine, you have to install for me. So the manufacturer can somehow tailor the engine ad hoc for your plant. And this always happens. I mean, we all people of this sector know that we have the, the regulation in Singapore that 1 megawatt engine is the maximum you can install for not having licensing. But all the engines above, then the manufacturer put the plate 999 for complying the regulation. But it's, I mean, it's nothing that is a secret.
Okay.
You don't run over that, but you have any way to pay the manufacturer, the engineering. But with the software, you can cut consulting.
Okay, time is up. One more question, yeah, and where?
So I have one quick one. I saw 20 million. Is 20 million you got your revenue or is it investment into you guys?
No.
Okay, so let me see now. So you can answer that question. Well, let me ask you the same question and you can answer both of them, right? Second is, I consider myself very technical, but I was a little bit lost through this slide. So perhaps to simplify, right, and this is perhaps something anybody who wants to do it, right? There's something called the Founder Institute, which does. My company is solving this problem for this defined audience with this secret sauce, right? So if you can answer with that thing, so my company is solving this specific problem for this specific audience using this secret sauce, right? So if you can answer that as well, that'd be great. So these 2 things.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Alessandro, would you like to?
No, actually, you want to do it in 1 sentence. Very clever. No, because I mean there is no time to answer. I would say we are run out of time, but the feedback was pretty good. So if you want to do it in 1 sentence, go ahead.
I just wanted to respond on the 20 million.
Yeah.
Easier. Now, this is a National Research Foundation project of 20 million. We have a chunk of that money.
So then that was very misleading. That if you put that number out there,
Yeah.
and if you get challenged, that removes your credibility.
Right.
Okay.
If you put anything on the slides, you need to be able to defend it and be able to make it clear right, what that means.
I kind of got it because the way it was worded, but the 1.2 actually I thought was a bit hidden away. The 1.2 million Jerome project.
Yeah.
By the way, well done. You changed the order of your slides and you were still able to do that like 10 seconds like time. So kudos to you. That's a very hard thing to do. Just though to say, yeah, I agree, you are covering a really technical, complex subject. If your slides look technical and complex, then no matter what you say, as an investor, they're going to go, oh, this looks tricky, this looks, oh, there's the, and if it's infrastructure as well, then you think, oh, long sales cycle, you know, expensive, lumpy revenues. So I would say, if you can simplify, then it's going to definitely work. And then it kind of invite questions and using your like little bullets of 1.2 million revenue project on Jerome Port that we were able to save 30% on valuation of the market for this kind of engine purchasing is X. We've got this problem with CO2 and we're addressing that. You know, if you can help kind of make it simple, then you'll get a lot more questions because people otherwise will be too confused.
Okay.
Because you're an expert, we're not. Thanks.
Okay, so one tip from our side. So we've been trying to sell this, for about five years now, right? It's a very hard sell, right? So his question is spot on, right? How are you going to take this to market? Who is going to sell it? How are they going to sell it? How much money are you going to need to do that? We've burnt a lot of money trying to sell this, right? All over the world, and it's still a hard sell. Okay, it's too early. For me, it's still too early for the market, and it's only a very niche segment that you can really attack. But it's not a mass. It's not a mass solution yet, and it's probably 10 years away before it's going to be a mass market sell. So that answer has to be ready. What's your plan? How are you going to sell it? We're also trying to work out the numbers for that. It's a very difficult question, so you've got to be prepared for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to finish like the whole event, what I would actually ask presenters to do, and I will slowly ask the questions, and I will probably start from Kartikeya, so get ready. What was the main, the useful part and the learning and the takeaway from you presenting and getting your Q&As? The learning thing.
Oh, yeah, no.
Mike?
Do I need it? I think for me, the main feedback that I took away was I didn't have slides prepared and I wasn't sure if sort of that's the right approach or not. But your encouragement shows me that it's okay to do without slides to some extent, right?
And that was your intention from the beginning.
No,
You said, I'm not
intention.
gonna.
Yeah, I told you I don't want to do slides. So thank you for that. And I think the suggestions that you guys have given me about not looking for VC investments initially, perhaps to just also looking at how to scale, but also what makes me unique, and just I was already thinking about these things, but your feedback and your value, because you've been in this space, really means a lot. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Who is ready to answer the next? Guys? Adrian.
So, great use of colours, that's the first thing. The feedback. I made incredibly complicated something which is very simple. I'm in a very simple business. The benchmark is quite, well, it's just embarrassing really. But that's the thing, just to give you a thing, I had 5 slides, Simon Sinek, why, how, what, right? Yeah. And I had that. And I said, well, I can't go over that, really, it's a bit light. I literally had the front sides, why, how, what, and thank you, goodbye, there it is. And then this morning, I got up at 4 and I thought, oh, it's going to be a bit light. And then I just got all of this, and I just look at it, I'm just sitting down going, how on earth can I be so bad? So thank you for all your positive feedback. I won't get up at 4, I'll probably get up at 5, and I really do it all. 4 slides. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, just to add one comment, because as Adrian said, we're students on the same program at the moment, and I heard him talking about this idea for a year. And at one point, I remember Adrian said, yeah, whatever I told you last time, I just totally deleted the whole folder of my project from my computer because I want to start it from scratch once again, and I got scared. So partially you were my inspiration, and you just reconfirmed what happened in the morning, like, yeah, I'm going to redo the whole presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, thank you so much everyone for coming and for inviting us to pitch here. It was very interesting to see from the investor point of view which are the bottleneck for the product we are working on. And honestly speaking, we know that we have some luck in the way of presenting in an easier way, but in somehow it's also quite difficult in just 5 minutes give an idea of the potential that you can achieve with that. Because in somehow I can say you can achieve 40% saving, and you, without giving in somehow a description of how, you say, yeah, okay, bullshit. And this is not how we like to work. And somehow maybe understand, better to have a spike of giving big number, oh wow, but somehow it's difficult to justifying that in just few slides. So of course we are going to work more on that. And also it was a good point to understand that the business model and someone that sell the businesses, the key parameters that a young startup like ours should be really taken into account if we find the founder.
Okay.
Thank you so
very
much.
Once again, I want to thank all the entrepreneurs who were brave enough to present today, and it was the launch of the event, so it was also important for us how it's going to work out. And once again, as students of EMCC program, what my learning at least is that we hope it was a safe space for you to present it, maybe not the first time, but just to test the idea and to get the feedback. And that's the purpose of the event. It's not to get the investments. It's good if you will get the investments after your presentation, but the whole concept is just to train, to present how you present it. And for us as well, it's a learning curve in terms of organization of the event. So Thank you very much for your suggestions and the comments, and I hope to see you in other events. And thank you very much for our panelists, because you made the whole thing started with your comments and sharing your experiences. Thank you once again. And INSEAD is so welcoming that we still have coffee and tea outside and some cookies, so if you want to talk shortly after the event, please welcome.